Dear students, welcome to Java programming course. Currently, we are discussing chapter 2 of unit 4 is exception handling. And this is second video. And these are the topics we are going to discuss in this video today. Java's built-in exceptions, uncaught exceptions, try and catch keywords, how to use to handle exceptions. First concept is Java's built-in exception. And in the package called java.language, java.lang, this package defines several exception classes. And every exception type may generate in our programs. Every exception has its own class. And to handle these exceptions, first we need to create an object of that exception type. For example, arithmetic exception. So when this type of arithmetic related exceptions generated, we need to create an object of that exception type arithmetic exception. So that's why this package java.lang defines several exception classes, and based on the exception raised during our program executions. The most general of these exceptions are most of the exceptions are subclasses of this runtime exception. I told you in the previous video about the classes hierarchy of this exception classes. So throwable is the parent class to all the exceptions, and one of the subclass of this throwable class is exception, and subclass of this exception is runtime exception class. So this runtime exception class contains all the subclasses individually based on the exception type raised in your programs. These exceptions need not to be included in any method's throws list. So this concept, this point is related to sometimes in our class we may have different methods. Sometimes the method generates any type of exceptions, and that method should maintain one list of exception throws by that method. When any other object or instance of that class or any code out of the class may want to access that method has to show the list of exceptions generated when the method invoked. So these exceptions, what we are talking about, runtime exceptions, and these exceptions need not to be included in that type of case called methods throws list. Right. And coming to the next, in this Java language, these type of exceptions we call as unchecked exceptions. Remember this point, you may get questions based on this in external examinations, difference between checked exceptions and checked exceptions. So unchecked exceptions, nothing but runtime exceptions. And because why we call these as an unchecked exceptions, the compiler does not check to see if a method handles or throws these exceptions. So method handles or throws these exceptions, and about these type of situation, the compiler does not check of these exceptions, whether this method handles or it may throw these exceptions. So usually we know that these exceptions need not to be included in any methods throws list. That is, these exceptions, default or built-in exceptions, so that too unchecked exceptions. The compiler doesn't bother about these type of exceptions may generated in the execution usually. And these are the unchecked exceptions defined in Java.language are listed in this below table. So here it is. See here the first most important is arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. When you are using this exception in your programs to handle, so you have to follow this case study. Case sensitive of this representation. Uppercase A, uppercase E, and no space between this. Arithmetic exception. Exactly this the statement used in your program to handle such a type of exceptions to be generated. And these are the exceptions, nothing but these are the list of classes. And we call these as unchecked exceptions. So arithmetic errors such as division by zero such type. When we divide anything by zero, we will get some infinity values like that, right? Consideration. So we consider that type of case is arithmetic exception. And the second type of case is array index out of bound exception. If you observe the written form of this exception, uppercase A array, uppercase I index, uppercase O out, uppercase O off, B exceptions, right? So this way you have to written when you create an object of this class exception. So this is usually occurs when array index is out of bounds. So we'll see every of these type of exceptions in our practical programming situations. We will see all these. Most of the exceptions we covered in the example problems. Got it? Next one, coming to the another list of exceptions defined by this java.language package that must be included in a methods throws list. Why? Because these are the exceptions should be included in method throws list. Why? Because when we are trying to access any method defined in the class, then the method should indicate, should tell about what type of exceptions this method can generate when we trying to invoke that method. So that is called methods throws list. If that method can generate one of these exceptions and does not handle it itself, so in that case, this method throws that exception because it unable to handle that exception. So automatically what that message do, it simply throws that exception, right? So we need to handle that in our program. Why? Because we are trying to invoke those methods. So these type of exceptions we call as checked exceptions. So here these type of exceptions we call checked exceptions. And class not found exception. Class not found exception, that's the class not found. It means illegal access exception. We are trying to access a class, but the access to class is denied. In that case, this exception will generate it. Okay, interrupt exception, instantiation exception. Attempt to create an object of an abstract class or interface, it automatically creates one exception that's indicating that instantiation exception. You are not allowed to create any object of this abstract class or an interface. No such file exception. The request field does not exist in the file. Or no such method exception. We are trying to invoke a method with name, but that requested method does not exist in the class or something there. Reflective operation exception. Superclass reflection related exceptions added by JDK7, and all these type of exceptions, clone not supported, everything. All these are considered as a unchecked exceptions, and these, sorry, checked exceptions, and these exceptions, the method does not handle it itself, so it automatically throws these exceptions. Okay. The next one, that is something under related to the built-in exceptions available in Java. And now we are ready to take the process of how to handle exceptions. And before that one, just have a small concept called uncut exceptions. What happens? So before we learn how to handle exceptions in your program, it is useful to see what happens when we don't handle them. Generally, exceptions occurred at runtime during our program execution. And what happens when we don't handle them? So it creates a problem for us, right? Then how it can be? A small program includes here, this is a sample program, a simple program, includes an expression, that intentionally cause a divide by zero error, a basic error, divide by zero. Here it is. If you try to understand the behavior of the class given here, class exception zero, consider this as an exception zero, and this is a main class. Inside of this main method, we have created one variable integer type, integer d equal to 0, and integer a equal to 42 divided by this d. What the value of d here? It is simply 0. The value of d is 0. So this is the case called divide by 0 exception. This is related to arithmetic operation exception, runtime error. It doesn't allow you to create such a type of expression as an instruction in your programs. So it 100% it generates an exception, runtime error. And this case is not considered as a compile time error. It is only generated at runtime. First of all, you need to understand the point about this exception. It is not a compile time error. It is a runtime error. 100% this error cannot be identified by the compiler, but at runtime only it can be generated, right? Next one. When the Java runtime system detects the attempt to divide by 0, it constructs a new exception object. What type of exception it is? Arithmetic exception. So the control constructs one new exception object, arithmetic exception object, and then throws this exception. So actually this runtime exception occurred in your program execution. So control creates one arithmetic exception object and throws into the out of the code. Once an exception has been thrown, see, this is the actual process. You have to follow this one step by step. Once an exception has been thrown, it must be caught. And who will caught this exception? Called, that is also a code. That is also part of code in our program that is called exception handler. So that thrown exception must be caught by an exception handler. And it catches that exception and it do some part of solving the exception on its own way. In the given example, we have not supplied any exception handler. If you observed here, we have just given the two statements in our program, and we know that there is an exception generated in this expression, that is divide by 0. But even though we have not supplied any exception handler of our own. So what happens here? Generally, we are not provided any exception handler. Then what happens? So the exception is caught by default handler. provided by Java runtime system. Here, Java runtime system provides one default handler whenever you are not supplied any exception handler for exceptions generated by your program. So Java runtime system automatically provides a default handler which handles that exception generated by your program. So the default handler displays a string. Remember this point very well. And it displays that exception generated by your program as a string. It displays a string in a form of string about that exception. And this string describes the exception and prints a stack trace. This is also important. Remember this one, and we are talk more about this one. Stack trace. Stack trace. From the point at which the exception occurred, it prints the stack trace, and we know the stack concept very well from data structure course of first semester. And the stack is used to hold the runtime execution process control flow. That control flow from this point here clearly mentioning about it prints stack trace. Tracing means observing, monitoring where that exception occurred, from what line of instruction of your program, in which method, in which class, and at what, everything is collected by this stack trace, and that prints as a string from the point at which the exception occurred and then terminates the program. So this is the working nature of the default handler when we have not supplied any exception handler for our exceptions generated by our program. Got it? This is the thing happened when we did not handle the exceptions generated by our program. Got it? Clear? Very simple. And coming to the example form. So before that, here is an exception generated when this example is executed. When we are trying to execute the above program, so this is the type of exception generated here. Java.lang.arithmetic exception. This is the class provided in this package related to this divide by zero error. And this error is a type of arithmetic exception, runtime error. And where it occurs at execution exception 0, that is class name. This is class name. In dot inside of main function. Inside of main function. At what line? At line 6. So this is the process called stack trace. Stack trace. So this way it prints the exception generated. So this is the output we paste at the output or compile or run the exception of the previous program. So notice how the class name, exception 0, the method name, main, and the file name, exception 0.java, it is a file name here, and the line number 4 or 6, sorry, 6. The line number 6 are all included in simple stack trace. Stack trace. The stack is used at this context point of view to hold these exceptions from where this starting point the exception occurred. Got it? And also notice that the type of exception thrown is the subclass of exception. And also notice that generated type of exception and thrown exception is a subclass of exception called arithmetic exception, which more specifically describes what type of error happened in the program. We'll see this process in the example program, executing that one. Okay. Coming to the S. So take this program as a file, and the file name is exception 0 and this is main class. And inside of this main method, I have created one integer variable d equal to 0 and another expression created here, integer a equal to 42 by d now 0. It automatically creates one runtime error, divide by 0, that is exception. And go to command prompt. As it is here, current directory, and there that file is available, java c space exception 0 dot java. Then press enter for compilation. So that is error, but even that is a runtime error. So it is, sorry, that is a runtime error. So it cannot be identified at compile time. So successfully compiled, and compiler saying about that there is no any syntactical or semantic errors, but that is a logical error. It's a runtime error. So try to execute this one. If it displays that error here, exception in thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception slash by 0 divide by 0 at exception class name dot main function name and file name, and at what line it generated that exception, arithmetic exception. Got it? Done. So this is the way how to see what type of exceptions generated by our program. But here we didn't supply any handler mechanism for this exceptions generated. Okay. Right. Now, coming to another scenario of this uncaught exceptions, see the stack trace. So I'm dividing these instructions and forming into a one function here. So if you observe here, this is a static void method called subroutine, and I place the exception generated code inside of this method, and the type of method is static void. So the class name is exception one, and inside of main function, I am invoking this subroutine method, by using class name only, not object. Here it is static methods. Without creating objects, we can allow to invoke directly by mentioning the class name. So class name exe1 dot subroutine. So here it is. Exception generate here, not at this one. So exception generates specifically at this and mentioning this line also. So if you trying to compile this one, no errors will found. When we're trying to execute this one at runtime, it generates error at these two locations, right? So for example, if you observe here, what type of exception it generates at runtime, Java language dot arithmetic exception slash divide by 0 at exception subroutine. This is class name, method name, file name, and line number, that is 6. So here it is. Here it is line number 6. And after that at main, it is class name, method name, file name, and line 10. If you observe the stack trace, and we know that first where the control of execution starts, at main method, So automatically it calls the subroutine. So here, first the control of execution starts from main, and the method invocation function calling here. So first of all, this the thing here displays, right? Here this invocation reflects one arithmetic exception, right? So first it goes to into the stack, and later it control goes to the function call control goes to here, and there it identifies in the program line 6 error, and it displays what type of exception it is. Got it? The same we'll see in the execution part also. Coming to this is exception 1 main class. It is the static void subroutine method, and these are the two instruction line of code generates exception, and inside of main we are invoking this subroutine method through the class name, right? Static method. And go to the execution at command prompt. So see here, exception 1, Java's exception. No errors at compile time, and we are trying to execute this one as it generates runtime error like this. Got it? Next one, after this uncaught exceptions, and we see what happens when we do not handle them, right? So when don't handle these exceptions, we may get some problems like abnormal terminations, right? So to avoid those abnormal terminations by the programs, we should, we must and should handle those exceptions generated by our program. So we know that that exception handling mechanism contains 5 keywords. With the help of those 5 keywords, we can handle the exceptions in our programs. And the first here it is try and catch keywords. So here one question arises about before going to handle these exceptions using these try and catch keywords. Although the default exception handler provided by the Java runtime system is useful for debugging. Debugging means identifying the errors, either it may be a runtime or a compile time. So default exception handler giving you a usefulness when you are debugging the program. So, but here it is the concept is we are not handling that exceptions by ourselves. It is handling by the computer or system itself. So, but we usually want to handle an exception by ourselves. So here by doing so provide two benefits. The first one is it allows you to fix the error. It allows you to fix the error. And second one is it prevents the program from automatically terminating. So automatical termination process will control by our exception handler. The same way we can allow to fix that error. What type of error it is going to be generated. We can handle them, right? So this is the thing. So to handle a runtime error, so we know the try and catch blocks can be used to handle the exception. Simply enclose the code that we want to monitor inside a try block. So whatever the exceptions, we may get a chance to occur exceptions in our code, that part of code should be maintained in try block. And immediately following the try block, remember this one is very important and mandatory condition. Immediately following the try block, include a catch clause or a catch block that specifies the exception type that we wish to catch thrown by the try block. So we place the code in try block to monitor generated exceptions, and when the exception rises, then automatically that try block and control those exceptions, and the catch block automatically catch those exceptions. To illustrate how easily this can be done, so simply take a simple program with this try block and catch clause, and simply handle the exception called arithmetic exception generated by divide by zero error. So before going to that, I need to mention one more important point about this try and catch blocks. So this is already, we know that try block is a block of code that cause an exception. When an exception rises, control creates an exception object based on the type of exception generated or raised. And the control throws that exception object. And that exception is caught by the catch block defined as an exceptional handler. So this block of catch block of code that catches the handles exception thrown by try block. We call this as the exception handler. But in this process, one important point to be noted. So consider this try block has the statements, sequence statements like this. Just assume that at statement 2, one exception is generated. At statement 2, one exception is generated. The control of execution passes to catch block after this exception generated, right? This is catch block. So here it is catch block, exception handler, immediate to this try block. Remember this one. After this try block, immediately catch block should be defined based on the type of exception generated. And after catching this exception by this catch block, and some part of code handles that exception, and after that control goes as it is after this catch block and control the execution of part of code, and it doesn't return to the try block again. This is the point to be remembered. After complete execution of catch block, control never goes back for the execution of remaining code within try block. This is the point to be remembered. Right? Got it? Next one. Coming to the example program here, consider a class exception2, and it is a main class. Inside of this main class, I have taken two integer variables dA. So try block I have defined here because I have a doubt to generate exceptions in my code when D equal to 0 and A equal to 42 by D. So this code automatically generates. We know that this code generates one exception. So that's why to monitor an exception to be generated by this code, so I'm keeping these instructions into my try block, right? And also I'm here, there is one more statement taken in try block. After this statement or expression generated exception, after this expression statement. So check this, this statement will not be printed. This will not be printed. Why? Because when the exception generated at this point, the control goes to this catch block for handling this exception. And after that, control automatically go like this. And it never returns to this try block to execute the remaining statements. So for that also, for making confirmation, I have given this statement here. And inside of this catch block, as an handler of this exceptions generated by this try block, and I'm mentioning that inside of this catch block, this instruction may, or this try block may generate an exception type like arithmetic exception E. And we know, if you know that, then mention this one as an arithmetic exception. Otherwise, simply mention exception. Simply mention that like exception. And we don't know what type of exception this try block may generate. Then you can simply mention that exception, not arithmetic exception. Why? Because whatever the type of exception generated by your program, all are subclasses to this exception class. So that's why we can simply mention that exception as an exception. So right. So here this I'm just displaying that whenever this type of statement expression generates an arithmetic exception, I have catch block handler to handle this to catch that exception with this class name called arithmetic exception and object of this arithmetic exception. And simply displaying that to inform the user there is a division by zero error. And like this, and after this catch block, I have given state after catch block statement that it means to prove after handling this exception, control goes out of this catch statement. After these statements execute and terminate the program, right? So you may get some doubts like here, what handler mechanism we have here we taken. Actually, as a basic learner point of view, here you just identify the what type of exception generated in the code of try block and just inform to the user this is the exception generated here and design a catch block for exception handler. So by doing this try and catch block form in your program execution or in a program design, that handles that exception and controls your program execution to automatical termination. So it saves your program to abnormal termination, right? That it's saving means it controls to not it means not occur, not the program termination in abnormal case. It saves your program. So that is the thing here by using this try and catch block. And don't bother about exception handler can be generated and how we are going to handle this one like that. We are just informing and handling that exception for or to save our program to not to occur in abnormal cases, right? This is the output. And go to the execution part of this one, exception 2. So see here, this is the same code. I have taken try block here, later catch block, and after the catch block, it is main program statements, main method statements, and main method another instruction statement defining this the comma a variable. Coming to the execution part of this command prompt, exception 2.java. No compile time errors. Execute this one. So we have mean here we handle this exception generated here. In the previous case, it generated exception like this, right? But here it is not generated this exception by default handler. We have our own handler to handle my exception. So the error generated, the exception generated by the try block is caught by the catch block and it displays the statement, right? The designing, the mechanism design in Java using this try and catch block. So try is generated, the exceptions thrown, responsibility of try block, and catch block is caught those expressions thrown by the try block and handles it in our own way. And after handling that exception by the catch block, the remaining part of the code execute as it is. So this is the process. Got it? So I hope you all understood how to handle a simple arithmetic exception by using this try and catch keywords. And in the next topic also, in the next video also, we are going to see some more examples on this try and catch blocks and for different exceptions generated, right? So if you observe here, notice that call to print inside the try block never executed, that it is this statement. This statement is not executed in the previous program execution because here, once an exception is thrown, program control transfer out of the try block into catch block. Once the catch block statement executed, program control continues with the next line in the program following the entire try catch mechanism. Right. So coming to the important points to be noted when we are using this try and catch clauses in our program for handling the exceptions. See here, most important points to be keep in mind. A try and catch statements form a unit. Why? Because I told you the first mandatory condition, after defining a try block, we have to define immediately catch block. These two statement forms a unit. That it means one unit answer. The scope of catch clause is restricted to those statements specified by immediately preceding try statements. That is the thing here. Try block, after try block, you have to define catch block with some statements specified, right? And that is the scope is completely restricted to those statements to handle that exception. That statement completely restricted to handle that exception generated by try block. A a catch statement cannot catch an exception thrown by another try statement. You may have another try statement in your program, but when you use the try block as a first block in your program, and after that having the catch block only handles the exception generated by the preceded block called try block. That's why the first condition statement is given here. After try block, you have to mention your catch block as an handler for exceptions thrown by try block. But one catch statement cannot catch an exception thrown by another. Why? Because the catch is completely linked with the first try one. And you may have some try one, try two blocks in your program, catch one, catch two. Try one exception generated and catch one is the only handler with for the exceptions generated by try one block. And in your program, same program, try two block is there and catch two handler also there. But try one block generated exceptions cannot handled by catch two block as an exception handler. This is not the case in any program. That is the thing here. A catch statement cannot catch an exception thrown by another try statement, but it is possible in nested try statements. Right? Nested try, and we are going to see this topic in short. The statement that, next important point is, the statements that protected by try must be surrounded by curly braces. Right? That it means try, already we shown that try is a keyword. So try is a keyword followed by scope, open curly brace, close curly brace. And the statements defined by this try block should be surrounded by the curly braces only. They must be within a block, right? You cannot use try on a single statement. You cannot use this try like this. The rate statement written in the previous A equal to 42 by B. You cannot define like this. So this is invalid in Java. We cannot use try on a single statement. We use this try as a block only. Got it? So these are the things related to try and catch keywords. And one more example given here to handle exception move on. So to remember this one, so here the concept is random number generation. So import one package java.util random. We're already aware of this thing. Random class, by creating an object of this random class by importing from this package, and the random variable or object generates random numbers. Okay, so inside of this main method, so I have declared three variables: a equal to 0, b equal to 0, c equal to 0, right? Then one random object r, small r, lowercase r, random says lowercase r equal to new random object creation for random class. And iteration loop for loop I equal to 0 to 100 times I'm repeating this code. inside this iteration loop. So inside of this for loop, I have one try block. Inside try block, I have this set of statements. If you observe, b equal to r dot next int, that it means it generates one random number and that random number stores in b and it display on the screen. And another c equal to r dot next int. It also do the same. It generates another random number and stores in C. R dot next int. R is a random class object and it displaying C value on the screen. But here it is the expression statement that may generate exceptions. The statement may leads to exceptions. When? Because when these B or C, the expression clearly given A equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, division with B division C, subdivision operation, B slash C. So this may becomes 0 in some cases. That random number selection based, sometimes this subdivision expression B slash C, it may becomes 0 at any time in some of the cases. When it becomes 0, 0 divided by something, something divided by 0, it gives one arithmetic division by 0 error, that is arithmetic exception. In that case only, this exception is raised and thrown by this try block and caught by this catch block. And it handles and informs the user at this particular case, at this particular B and C values, these two values divide when these two values divided by each other like this, B slash C, it generated value 0 and it rises an exception, right? So when it rises this arithmetic exception, simply we are handling, how we are handling here. In the previous programs, we doesn't bother about this handling mechanisms, but here it is very severe important case. When this exception rises 0 divided by 0 error, the A value becomes infinity. We cannot hold that value. So automatically what we are doing here to handle that exception, in that particular case, when it becomes 0, arithmetic exception generated in this expression, then simply set that A value to 0. Set A to 0 and continue. Again, continue the loop. Whenever the 0 occurs, by dividing this B by C, then simply put that A value as 0. This is the handling mechanism. And it's simply displaying that A value every time. So once you go to the execution part of this thing, later at command prompt, we clearly understood how this exception generated and how it can be handled. So this is the program we have taken here. So this class exception 3, public static void main, everything is same. And I'm coming to this one later. We'll show you this thing here. First execute this one. Exception 3 example, right? No compile error, as we know that, but it creates a run. So if you observe here, so 100 times the loop repeated here. Just go back to the at command prompt that when we started execution. Yes, it is. This is the where we started this execution, Java exception 3. So first it generated B and C. These are the two random numbers here. B and C, two random numbers generated. But here it is division by 0. After this one, some value is generated. Why? Because see, if you observe here, C is a something value and this one is something value. And after these two values, some division arithmetic exception is generated, and simply we have set this A value as 0. A value as 0. Right? Then after that, the selection of these values like this, B and C random values. By dividing these two values, again we are getting some arithmetic exception, and we have handled and set A equal to 0. And if you observe this case, by generating two random values, we are getting A value as 6172, not 0 here. Why? Because here that exception is not generated here. So exception was not raised, then don't bother about the handling also. That if you observe all the cases where that random exception generated, right? Random number generation and exception taken. Some of the cases also negative numbers we are assigning to A. Like that. Understood? So this is the way of handling a mechanism when the exceptions rise by your programs. Next one here, we can display this description, but in the previous way, we just display the statement like division by 0 error occur. But we can display the string using the stack trace, right? So for doing that one, using the println statement also, so we're just modifying this catch block and rewritten the catch block like this. Catch arithmetic exception E, this is same. But inside of this one, system.out.println, we simply mentioning here that the same here, division by 0. But instead of that one, you can simply like print this E. This print E mentioned here, it simply displays the description of the exception raised at that core in that catch handler, right? So when this version is submitted, this is the expression string description of that error generated by the code. Okay, we can show you once again this one. That's why I have written in the file here. Yes, see here. I'm just modifying this complete expression catch block into this like this. Here also we can display like this. Okay, I'm just modifying this one. So I'm completely replacing this catch block with this one. So here it is. So this is try block here, and this is catch block. It is just displaying what type of exception it is generated. So save this file and go to execution path. Coming to here, compile this one again and run this program again. So if you observe here, the exception, when it is generated exception, it is displaying on the screen at different cases, right? And it is generated exception, it simply puts that A value as 0. Otherwise, it's simply displaying, assigning that value according to the expression given in the program. Got it? Then okay. Thank you.